Let's go ahead. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank everyone for their attendance. The minutes can reflect the role of the various trustees and staff. Let's move forward. Item 3 is the motion for the approval of the one village board and 511 architectural review board, 613 board of public works minutes as presented. I'll make a motion. Second. Motion second as all the comments, questions, clarifications, corrections on it. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Anybody in the audience or online that wishes to be heard on a non-agenda item? Hearing none, item 5, this is, information has been presented by, in the normal fashion. Item 6 is provided resolutions, ordinance, action items. Item A is, Paramount Records Park Design Contract. Jessica, do you want to speak a little bit to it?
Yes, so the village back in 2020 issued a request for proposal to get design services for our existing park that we have at the corner of Falls and Johnson Bay Road. Honestly, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we hit the pause button because the project is going to be substantially funded through green tax dollars, and those were limited due to the pandemic. So we reissued the request for proposal. We received 2 proposals back, one from the First, one from Sanger Associates. The staff is recommending to go with Sanger Associates. They're a more qualified firm, and the proposed budget meets what the proposed cost meets the budget that has been identified. So happy to answer any questions. Andy Weisman, representing Snyder, is here. If you want any specific questions about the project as well, that's the campaign as well.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
That's correct. You dealt with Schneider and Associates before.
Yeah, Snyder and Associates prepared the current concept plan that we have for the park, and were instrumental in helping us develop really a direction for the site. We've been excellent work.
Questions?
I got one.
Okay.
I'm looking at this phase 1 task. Task 4 and task 5 both identify that consultant that will be available to participate in public meetings at the conclusion of the draft design and at the conclusion of the final design. So they'll be present for those public hearings. Well, am I correct in assuming they will be public hearings open to the public for comment?
Yes. So we scheduled a kickoff meeting, initial kickoff meeting for a group of invitees as well as the public. And Snyder will be facilitating that meeting with input from staff, but it will be a public meeting. The initial one that we scheduled hopefully for August 31st, and will be probably more open and creative. And then we will host a second meeting, probably a little bit smaller, more focused, that will review the draft design.
Okay, so under the additional services, they identify coordination of public input. So it's in their proposal that those will be held. So can I assume that you and Pam will be coordinating those meetings then, or what?
So the detailed contract, and it wasn't maybe it wasn't in the packet. The detailed contract states that Snyder will organize and facilitate the kickoff meeting, and then for the and then the consultant will develop a meeting agenda and prepare presentation materials for the meeting to review the draft design.
So what does coordination of public input that actually mean? Because that's an additional service that we will pay for.
Yep, that was the proposal. We clarified it in the contract that they will take the lead on facilitating these meetings working with staff.
Any comments, questions? That being said, I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Snyder and Associates for Paramount Records Park Design Services in the amount not to exceed $50,000. Take that motion. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. We'll walk in this one.
We put the August 31st meeting on the calendar. We're receiving a informal invitation from the chamber tomorrow.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to item B, resolution amending the 2022 general fund budget. If everybody's been through this, this is really housekeeping. Finalize items and to give details, we move from unclassified to the specific budgets. There is a resolution, so it's an offer motion second. I'll offer. I'll make the motion. Offer motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That resolution passes. This was on item C.
Could I ask a question?
Oh, sure.
Sorry. So Jesse, I guess I know we kind of do this every year. It's a little bit of a housekeeping thing. Do we normally include an IFC before a resolution like this, just kind of explaining a little bit more, or are you thinking this is just enough for us? Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
No, it's okay.
17 years, never been an IFC work, it's just kind of a housekeeping annually,
Okay,
just moving wages based on. It's, we budget.
what you
We
need.
budget for and wages there, we move that as we need it, I usually wait until August, so I can, one, get numbers to departments as they're going through their budget. And two, to recognize any changes during the year. So if we have someone making more money, but if we want to put that part of less money, that the department might not be any wage reserve funds. That's why we're in August, but I've never done IFC.
So then, on this document, you're listing to the accounts, and then should it be from the unclassified wage adjustment reserve?
Correct.
Okay, it's out of line there. Okay, and so the total amount is the $66,000.
Correct, yes. What is it, I think.
So you're under. it.
Correct, that one would be available for other wage survivors.
Let's move on to for public works. We have 3 action items. And one is a lot of words. All right. Motion to recognize road board approve additional pedestrian crossing signage for the crosswalks on Falls Road at Cedar Drive in 17. That's Centennial Park. Additional signage for Falls Road at Cedar Drive to include advanced pedestrian crossing signs with ahead plaques, red reflective tape on signposts, additional reflective paint markings at crosswalk and potentially brighter LED street bulbs. Additional signage for Centennial Park and crossing to include addition of pedestrian crossing signs at the crosswalk with downward arrow plaques. A yield to pedestrian sign at the center of the roadway, red reflective tape on signposts. Additional reflective paint in the crosswalk, the conversion of current sign colors to fluorescent yellow, and potentially brighter LED street bulbs. All in the name of safety. I'll make the motion. I'll second. I don't think there should be a whole lot of discussion, but if anybody wants to chime in. Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 2 is a motion to recommend the village board approve the final payment to T.D. Smith for the Headworks Facility Project minus MSA fees or actual MSA costs. That kind of what the gist is. No liquidated damages will be charged. C.D. Smith will be responsible for completing the final punch list item. The idea was, is since we don't know what the actual number is, leave it out at this point. Is that okay? Looking at now.
You mean the 60,000?
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be something close to 60. It's never going to be exact.
Yeah, it should be, 60,000 or actual MSA. No less than 60,000.
We're just proposing we just take the $60,000 out, but they minus the actual MSA.
Is that likely to be less or more than 60?
I think we know it's gonna be more than 60 when they finalize a little bit. Almost 59,000. As a water it works.
Okay, well, that would take 60 out of this full actual. So there's no question. As to how. That's all right.
Do you have that for the minutes? Okay. All right, I'll entertain that motion and then we'll throw it out there for discussion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is second, motion is second. Open it up for discussion. I know there was a lot of minutes, so.
Yeah, and I've thought a lot about this, and I have an issue with entering into a contract with somebody and then making exceptions for them when we're able to go for liquidated damages. I think liquidated damages are clauses that are drafted to protect owners from contractors with delays, extensions beyond agreed upon completion date by the building contractor. I don't know if we had any additional time that we spent on this because our contractor was delayed. Our contractor did come to us and say, geez, I'd like 60 additional days before this is put in place. Correct, Amber?
Correct.
Okay, so we gave him additional 60 days, which he asked for, and then he was unable to complete substantial completion for an additional 60 days, at which point we had a right to be able to charge him $1,000 a day as a protection. Now, again, I think the question is, did we actually have damages associated with this? And I don't think we had that answer at the meeting. We didn't have answers to know how much time did we actually spend as operators, as managers in trying to manage this incompletion. Secondly, I don't think that we got legal counsel opinion on this, at least that I can remember at that meeting. So I really would like to see that information back to us before we approve this. Number one, how much time we spent, what our cost is, and certainly legal opinion is it something that we can go back and charge? To me, it contracts the time. Thank you. Off the cuff thoughts.
I don't, candidly, I talked to Amber in advance of the meeting. I told her I would have to do some research into the question. And her response was, well, let's see where the committee takes this. And then based on the committee recommendation, I was asked not to perform the research. So I haven't done the research. I can do the research, but I don't have it here tonight.
Didn't we talk about if we had true damages though at the meeting and, Rebecca, did you say something about that? You know, service wasn't interrupted.
It's actually Tom who gave a really good definition.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
You know, so damages or harm to the village by the delays would actually be if we had people spending or putting in overtime in order to manage issues going on because the project is not completed. And I'm not sure, I hadn't heard anything about that.
We don't, I wouldn't say we have overtime, but we definitely would have had staff time over the last year put towards working on this project still, tracking punch lists, coordinating contractors in and out, and things like that, that obviously wouldn't have been village costs or village time spent on this project. If it had been completed.
The other thing about liquidated damages, those numbers, I think, have a tendency to just get plugged in based upon a prior contract, and they don't necessarily always represent what is going to be the cost to a community for a project that is delayed by a week, a month, or 2 months. And so the numbers that we grabbed in this contract were 1,000 for substantial and 500 for final completion. They're just throw a number out there. And my concern was in listening to C.D. Smith at a meeting was that we don't know that we can really justify the damages. And we talked about, okay, extra time, is it worth digging into finding out exactly how much harm was done to the village? How much did this cost the village because of their delays? And that's gonna be an expense in itself, to go ahead and research that, and then justify it, make sure that it's in line with actual. So what the contractor did and explained in terms of his compromise. CD Smith's compromise was that instead of splitting the cost for the extra engineering consulting fees because of the delays, they would swallow the whole thing. And I thought that was fair and reasonable for us to accept at this point, taking in mind that they were a good contractor to work with. They did all within their power, and this is the way they explained it. I'm just regurgitating what they said. They did everything within their power, did not pull off the site. They were dedicated to this project, and whether they made money or not, they said they didn't, but, and you know, but who knows? But I thought it was a reasonable compromise. And there was this, you know, there was I mean, the board wasn't fully behind this either. It was a split vote.
And, you know, the project took place over a few years. It took place during COVID. Every supply chain's been interrupted for the last few years. The village has seen problems with things for COVID, employees. I mean, it's been everywhere. And I agree, they did not leave the job site. They kept going. They had a couple of stumbles also. Didn't they have issues with some of the bedrock they came in contact with too, and that was something they didn't anticipate. So they had their share of things. And yeah, and I feel what was recommended is fair.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that I look at is that CD Smith said that they were willing to negotiate this further than what they did. And I think that it's, you know, again, I think that once they said they were willing to negotiate, at the end, they said, well, this is our negotiation. This is it. We're not going to negotiate any further than this. To me, which really goes against what they said, which is negotiate. And, you know, really, when we look at liquidated damages, I mean, that's why liquidated damages are there. A dollar amount is there because it's too difficult for two parties to come together and say, well, this is what it's going to cost for overages here. This is what the costs are of overages here. That's why liquidated damages have a value that's addressed in the contract. If you're late, you're late. And again, like I said, and I was quoted on this, I'm sorry that we had COVID. I know that there's been a lot of supply chain issues, but COVID, while it still continued, we're talking about this year, aren't we? Aren't we talking about 2022 when they came to us in about April and said, we need 60 more days to complete this. And we said, you've got 60 more days till substantial completion. Then after that 60 days, they couldn't continue to get it, they couldn't get it done. Now we're talking maybe into like June, if I'm correct on this.
That would be back to 2021.
21.
Okay, so I apologize for that. But still, the fact of the matter is things were somewhat clearing up by that time. And yes, we do understand that there are issues out there with supply chain management. But again, contract's a contract. We negotiated, we asked them how much time that they would need, and they were still not able to complete it. So, you know, $60,000, I don't think that that's fair. I mean, additional liquidated damages, but certainly going back to them and saying, hey, look, we think there's a little bit more there. And for them to come back and tell us, well, we didn't make any money on this project, yet at the same time, telling us the woes they're going to have with UW Madison and the project they've got going with UW Madison doesn't play into this. It's a contract, in my opinion.
And do we use CW Smith on a pretty regular basis? Do we have a relationship with them? Have
We don't, I mean, they're a larger contractor, so unless we have a large project like this, you know, they're not someone that we work with on a regular.
We've worked with CD Smith on prior projects going back decades. Your experience with they're a good contractor, and you know, and I would hate to see a contractor look at Grafton in the future and say that they were wrong, or not wrong, but that they got a bad deal from Grafton, even though it was a contract. I agree, yeah, it was a contract. It's sometimes you know, contractors will, depending upon the consultant and or the municipality, if, they have ways, they will not bid jobs for certain communities that, or consultants that, they just don't care to work with anymore because of maybe a bad experience. I don't want to say this was a bad experience. I would like it to be a good experience for both the village and for the contractor, and I think we're doing that.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Show of hands, all in favor? Against? Motion passes 5-2. Let's move on to item 3. Item 3 is the motion to recommend village board approve the additional $7,520.68 of cleaning and televising work by Northern Pipe for West Cedar Street.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Those who are still getting emails, I have absolutely no problem with this. Any questions, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Yay.
It's an investment.
No. All right. Department officers, Jesse, you want to kick us off?
Sure. The previous discussion on the Paramount, the Paramount Chair Factory Park, that did take away one of my announcements. Please place on your calendar, August 31st for a kickoff meeting as we look to expand on that amenity here in the village. That said, other updates I have for the board this evening. The village pool will be closing on August 28th. And then the annual doggy paddle event is scheduled for the following day on the 29th. Grafton, we here saw an over 40% voter turnout for the recent partisan primary. This is well above average. And that well above average turnout was actually statewide. There's definitely a lot more energized voters out there looking to participate. And so everything went very smoothly in the report from the clerk's office. And so hats off to the clerk's office and all of the poll workers for all of their hard work on making that go smoothly when normally it's a very, very low key type of election. Last but not least, all of the village staff recently completed active shooter training. We had representation from the police department meet with all departmental staff in 2 different sessions to accommodate schedules and whatnot. Very well received by staff, very comprehensive presentation, all things considered in the world. That said, step 2 of that training, we are having and in the process of scheduling facility specific walkthroughs conducted by the police department with staff in those specific facilities as far as what their specific plan would be. So well-received training and appreciated training, albeit a very disconcerting topic. So that said, that is my report this evening.
Thank you, Chief. Please, planning, public works, park, anybody have anything you want to share with the board? Okay.
Chief, how are we doing the crossing guards? Anybody?
Nothing. This crossing guard schedule just came out, this today actually, and, we're still below staff on where we need to be. Officers are aware of this and have been told that they're to continue the practice of being a crossing guard at those intersections unless calls, prohibit them otherwise. No applications whatsoever. We've been recruiting and doing everything we can to try to get that word out. And one of our crossing guards, Bob Seamer, indicated that he really doesn't have any interest in doing substituting anymore. So we're gonna be down one more. I don't know what else to say. We're caught in a hard spot. We're not the only city dealing with it either, so
So the pay didn't make any difference.
did not make a difference.
We're gonna have to take our turns.
No, I welcome it.
Maybe the evaluation employee.
There you go.
All right, thank you. Move on to item 8, licenses. First one is motion to approve the operator's licenses as presented. I'll make the motion to approve. Typically we have the. Finance. It's just a personal. Bartender's license or is it an actual work for somebody? That's not that critical, but in the future.
Yeah, I don't know, sir.
Sometimes
Bruce
if there's
handles all that.
they don't.
All right, it's not that critical. Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item B. I don't know how you acknowledge, what we have to do, nod our head, what? Why are we gonna put this in a park? What's the motion that you're looking for, acknowledge?
Motion to, approve, and allow, acknowledge or allow Sahala, to act as a, beer and fermented malt beverage provider at the Pumpkin Pub.
So let's just change the first word to allow them to. Get motion. I'll make motion. Motion second, all in favor?
Oh, can we talk about it?
Sure.
Okay. So I just had a couple questions about this, Jesse. So I was wondering about this being a Celebrate Grafton activity. And I guess it's not. It's a private function.
That's my understanding, yes, and, to
And it
be,
used to be though, I think,
I don't recall.
incorporated with Paul Grafton.
Yeah. Could
So
be.
now this is private.
Mhm.
And as I understand it, because the brewery, they brew their own beer, they
Mhm.
need a second hand license to operate outside of their facility.
Correct.
And I'm curious, did they already take out a permit with Park and Rec for that date for a park permit? Because they're having a private, it's really it's for profit.
Sure.
To our knowledge, this event was being run as it has been previously, and it was, so, the motion was. To recommend the event happen per them meeting all the other permits they need for the event, just like all our other ones. So it's a recommendation to approve upon meeting the police department and liquor license and all those other things.
But are they also getting a park permit? Are they paying? Because,
Yes, they are paying, of
Okay.
course.
okay, so they have to fill out an
Yeah,
application.
yeah, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the police department's aware of it and,
Yeah, we have no issues with it. The license is just, it's just extending their license to sell off premise. And since it's gonna be at our park, but it's held in a private event by some other company who is actually hiring them to do this, that's why it would be, I have no issues with that.
and did they ask for any type of police presence or is that something
Did
you're
not
recommending?
ask for any, we did not recommend it. We've never had an issue with them in the past, so I don't anticipate it again. We do make our frequent passes through there, anytime we have an event anywhere. But yeah, they did not specifically ask for it, nor did we.
Right, because I do know they've had it before, and I know in the past it has been Celebrate Grafton, and now it's just separate and private. So as long as everybody is on board with that.
Yeah,
The same different, very similar to the things in the parking lot.
yeah, it's pretty similar to that, yeah, where they extended out.
All right, I'll just call it one more time. Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, motion passes. Item 9, proposing bills and a motion for the approval of village expenditures, $780,469.77. Motion second, I saw the back and forth, your emails and questions, any further comments, questions on the bills? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 10, motion to adjourn, so move. Second. Motion is second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.